Well, it's time now for a look at all today's French newspapers with our press reviewer, Katerina VITTOZZI. Katerina, thank you for joining us. Now, the French papers have been reacting as well to the death of Hugo Chavez.
Yes, it happened a little bit late in the day for a lot of the French papers to get it on their front pages yesterday, so it's dominating most of them this morning. Libération, they lead with this really striking picture of the former Venezuelan president, Hugo Chavez. The headline there, Chavez dies, passes, a play on words because the French word for left, gauche, is also used in this phrase. So, really they're asking in their editorial inside the paper if now that Hugo Chavez has died, will the socialist state that he masterminded and created and led so strongly over the past 14 years, is it going to stand the test now that he has died? And they say yes. They say it's going to be quite a tricky time of transition. It's going to be a lot for the the government that Chavez would want to see take over from him, put in the same sort of structures that he had. But they say it's enough ingrained in the the culture and the psychology of Venezuela now for it to succeed him. However, it's quite interesting then to take a look at the front page of Le Figaro. This is the French right-leaning paper. According to them, the revolution in Venezuela is over. They say that Chavez was such an enormous presence, such a huge personality that he really governed and was able to keep control of his tightly controlled policies in Venezuela through just his charisma, really. So according to them, the revolution, as Chavez saw it and as Chavez would want it to be, is over. So quite a tricky time, and it's just interesting to see how the two French papers deal with the same question.
Some contrasts in their attitudes there, but let's move back to here in France now, because the French government has announced one of its most ambitious projects to date. Tell us more.
Yeah, this is a really interesting project that was launched yesterday by the French government, the French Prime Minister Jean-Marc Ayrault. It's called Grand Paris, Grand Paris, as you might say, or Big Paris, perhaps. This makes the front page of 20 Minutes. This is really going to have an impact on all the people that live in France and the French and in Paris and the Parisian suburbs. This is a very ambitious 200 kilometres of train tracks and 72 new stations that is going to connect the French suburbs to central Paris and obviously to each other. Don't hold your breath quite yet, because the plan isn't set for completion until 2030. It was an idea, actually, Lorna, floated by the former French President Nicolas Sarkozy about 2 years ago, in fact. The big question then, why they couldn't make it go ahead, was finance. But the socialist government say they have fully costed the project. It's going to cost 33 billion euros, and quite the scope of it you can see in a great map. And Aujourd'hui en France, you see that really spans from north all the way around to the south, the east and west, a really massive project. What I do quite like about the announcement yesterday, which Aujourd'hui en France pick up on, is that to make this a new socialist project, casting off the shackles of the one put forward by Nicolas Sarkozy. The project was previously named Grand Paris. It's now called Nouveau Grand Paris. So what a difference a name makes.
It makes all the difference, I'm sure. And meanwhile, staying with perhaps the French political arena, lots of papers talking about the possible return of a familiar face.
Yes, a very familiar face and a very familiar name to anyone who's interested in French politics. Nicolas Sarkozy has been widely quoted in a lot of papers today. This was an informal chat that apparently he had with some friends he said, I don't want to return to politics, but if I had to, I would. And in fact, Le Figaro takes this a little bit further and looks at the socialist MPs who actually are taking this comment as a possibility. They quote the socialist MP for Paris, who says that Sarkozy has in fact been planning a return since the very night of his defeat. You might think that he was happy with a bit of lucrative after-dinner speaking, but according to the socialist MPs at Le Figaro site, he has never really cut ties with the political agenda in France. And in fact, that is quite true. You can pick out, and the paper indeed does pick out, times when he's commented at prescient moments on the French government strategy. And one MP says it will be Nicolas Sarkozy that President Hollande faces in the presidential elections in 2017.
Wow.
So watch this space.
What a turn up for the books that would be. Fascinating. And just to finish, Katerina, a bit of eye candy perhaps for a few viewers.
Well, why not?
Semi-naked man on the front of Le Parisien
this morning. It is a Thursday, but in fact it is news as well. This is good news on the front page of the French for the Parisian local football team. This is Enrique Lavezzi. He's the Argentinian striker for Paris Saint-Germain. He saw his team to their first quarterfinals in the Champions League in 18 years. No David Beckham in the match, unfortunately, but he'll do for now.
Yes, and David Beckham was on the bench, I'm sure, sending them good vibes from the
course.
sidelines.
Of course he was.
Thank you very much indeed, Katerina, for that look at today's French papers.